Hello and welcome back to another design clips here at Wplus9. This is Dawn Woolslegel, and today's cards are part of a special blog hop for Laura, who is celebrating her 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I've got not one but two cards today as mentioned, so let's get started with the first one. Now this one is a simple, pretty much one layer card, and I'll be using the same stamp sets for both cards. And I'll be using the Bunny Masker-ade and our Strictly Sentiments 5. Now I'm going to start with the sentiment, and I'm going to be heat embossing over this, so I'm going to go ahead and treat my cardstock and then stamp my sentiment. Now I wanted that sentiment to have some sort of interest since the rest of the card is pretty basic, pretty simple, so that's why I'm going to be doing some heat embossing. I'll be stamping this in our black pure color dye ink, and now this dye ink is dry to the touch immediately, but it's still wet enough that you can apply embossing powder afterwards, so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to apply some clear embossing powder over it, and it's going to give that sentiment a nice little bit of shine and dimension. I'm going to go ahead and do all of my stamping at once, and then I'll come in and color with Copic markers. And for that reason, I'll be using the Memento Tuxedo Black ink because it's Copic friendly and it won't smear or bleed with the Copic markers. I want to create this little party going on across the bottom. They're all celebrating Laura's achievement. And for that, I'm going to do some creative masking here. This stamp set does have a set of matching dies that goes with it. However, for this card, we're just going to be doing some masking. And then in the next card, I'll show you the dies. So I've gone ahead and stamped the banner and masked it off. And now I'm just going to stamp that bunny on top. And you'll notice when I pull off the mask, that the mask, it protected the banner and did not allow the bunny to stamp over the banner. So now it looks like the banner is on top of the bunny and he's holding it. Okay, so I stamped that little guy again on either side of our original little bunny, and now I'm going to add some balloons from our Friends for All Seasons fall set because it is not a party without balloons. I don't care how old you are. Everybody loves balloons. All right, so let's get into coloring this. And like I mentioned, we're going to be using Copic markers. Now I'm using a very simple technique here, anywhere from 2 to 4 colors, and normally I'm a very slow colorist. I've got this sped up to 2 times the speed, so if you've watched any of my Copic coloring videos in the past, you know that this is very fast for me. Normally it would take me forever. So I'm using the exact same technique on each balloon. I'm showing you here this minty colored one in its entirety, but I did the exact same thing for the pink balloon and the yellow balloon. I chose my color palette based on the types of colors that I always see Laura use. They're usually these very creamy pastel colors. They're still very vibrant, but they're definitely more of like a sherbety feel to them. So that's what inspired my color choices here. For the banner, I'm going to be using the same colors, except for I'm only going to use 2. I'm going to use the lightest and the darkest shade from each of the color families. Super simple coloring. And I'll be listing all of the supplies as well as the colors that I've used in today's cards in the description box below, as well as on our blog. So if you want to know the exact colors, that's where you'll be able to find them. I'm trying to get through this super quick because if you guys are watching the weather, you know I'm in Florida and we've got a storm coming. So I'm trying to get this all done and wrapped up so that I can get to the store and make sure we have things like water and stuff like that. We hardly ever get hit with storms or hurricanes, but the one time I don't ever get prepared will be the time that we lose electricity for an inordinate amount of time or something like that. So I need to get myself to the store and take care of that, you know? Okay, so what I've done, I'm going to be coloring my bunnies brown, white, and gray. I've already laid down a W0 marker to indicate where all of my shadows are going to be on these bunnies. And I went ahead and did that for all 3 of them. And I'm going to use the exact same technique for both the brown bunny and the gray bunny. So 2 colors. Here I'm using E30 and E31. I'm going to start by laying down the lighter color, and then I'm going to come in with the darker color, and that's where my shadows or my darker areas are going to be. I'm going to lay that down, and then I'm going to come back in with that E30 and kind of blend those out. You can see here I'm not using any special technique. There's no flicking, no precise blending. I'm actually want to leave behind a little texture, so I'm not being overly careful to blend these. I'm blending some and leaving others a little unblended, and it will leave some texture like a fur behind. And I'll use the same technique for all 3 of their ears. I'm going to lay down a little R00, and then I'm going to pull that out with a little YR000. What that's going to do is leave it darker at the base and then just kind of fade that color up toward the top of the ear. Now this stamp set, they all have little masks that they can wear and dress up like other animals, so there wasn't any detail needed in the ears of these. However, for this card, I just wanted to add a little bit of detail. So I'm using a Micron 03 marker, and I'm just going to add a little line to indicate the inside of their ear on each one. And that's it. I like the way it just kind of finishes it off for this particular card. Alright, so for the white bunny, all I needed to do was intensify his shadow just a little bit. And then for the gray bunny, I used the same technique as I did for the brown bunny, using W0 and W2. Now I still felt like this needed a little something, so I wanted to add some confetti. And that's going to be really easy to do. So to add the squirrely confetti, I'm going to be using the little pig tail that's included in the set. It goes with the pig nose. And it's just this little curly Q, so it looks perfect as almost like little confetti streamers. So I'm going to put that, stamp that around a couple times in the background, and then we needed to add some colorful confetti. So to do that, I'm just going to use the Copic marker, and I'm going to use the same colors that we used to color with, and I'm just going to dot it in. Now, the Copic marker, the tip, if you hold it down for a second, it will create a bigger dot, and then you can just lightly tap and it creates little tiny dots. So the longer you hold that tip onto the paper, the larger your dot will be as the ink soaks into the paper. And then the quicker you and the lighter you hit it, the smaller the dot will be. So I just used those same markers and dotted around a little bit of colorful confetti. And since this is such a simple one-layer card, it needed a little something extra, so I added some clear Wink of Stella glitter pen, and we added a little bit of sparkle and shine to those balloons and the party banner. And that is pretty much it. I just die cut that entire panel using our gift card layers die cut, which will put that faux stitching all the way around the edge, and then adhered it to a standard A2 top folding note card. And that brings us to the second card. Now this one looks a little more involved, but it's just as simple. We used die cuts and a fun watercolor background, and when we put it all together, it looks a little more oomph than the last one, but it's actually just as easy. So first I'm going to create that watercolor background. I've got some Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock here, and I'm using cracked pistachio to add some ink blending to the center. This does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be even, because I'm going to come in with water and add a lot of texture to this anyway. I just want to get some color down in the middle of the page, and I want it to be heavier in the center and fade out toward the edge. Okay, now I can come in and add my texture with the water, and I'm going to start off the edge in the white area, and I'm going to pour water from the brush onto that white area and then push it into the color. Now what this is going to do is it's going to start making those edges bleed and run. It's going to give me a softer effect on the edges in some areas, and in some areas it's going to dry very hard with hard edges. And then I'm also going to squeeze out some water onto my hand and then just flick it into the center. Now this is going to look like a hot mess at first, but trust me, it's all going to work in the end. And once I'm satisfied with how it looks, I'm just going to set it off to the side and let it air dry, and I'm going to move on to my little critters. So I went ahead and stamped these and colored them off camera. I did them the exact same way that I did for the other card, and then I die cut them using the companion die. Now each of these will be ready to adhere to the front of that watercolored panel. I die cut the panel using that same gift card layers die to add that faux stitching around the edge, and now I'm going to stamp my sentiment. So I haven't adhered anything down yet. I've got everything laid out where I want it to go so I can get perfect placement for that sentiment. And I'll be using the Mini Misty to stamp that. So I'm just going to get it lined up exactly where I want it and close the door. Now, because I'm stamping on watercolor paper, it does have a slight texture to it. So I love using the Misty or the Mini Misty to do that, because if I don't get a perfect impression the first time, I can just close that door and stamp it again, and I have no worries. My panel's not wasted. So I'll be using our Pure Color die ink in black, stamping that down, and now it's time to just adhere everything in place. I used a little 3M foam tape for dimension to adhere all of the little bunnies, and then I attached the entire panel to a side folding A2 card base. Now this is a blog hop for Laura, so it would not be complete without some sequins. And I'm using a yellow mix from Simon Says Stamp. So there you have it, 2 cards, same supplies, all celebrating Laura's milestone. Congratulations, Laura. Thank you so much for inviting me on the hop. If you haven't ever visited Laura's YouTube channel, be sure to click on the card here on the screen to visit. You won't be disappointed. And be sure to check the description box below for links to all of the supplies, as well as a link to our blog where you can pick up on the hop and see all of the other wonderful participants who are helping celebrate this milestone. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.